In the last video, we saw how, to use shell scripting to deploy an Apache web server and also to download a template online and then copy the template on the Apache, in the Apache directory, which is the var ww/html, right? We saw all of that. Now, in this project, what we want to do basically, all right, is to have, one server, okay, that will be more like our, let's just say, all right, master server, just to put it that way. Okay, so we're going to have one server as the master server, and then we're going to have two servers. Okay, so one is going to be Ubuntu OS, and then one is going to be, all right, so we're going to have one. So let's just make the distinction right here. All right, so one is going to be Ubuntu OS, and then another one is going to be basically Amazon, all right, Linux. Okay, so now what we want to achieve, okay, in this project is basically to see how we can deploy our script from this master server, all right, onto these servers, right, without logging into any of these server to execute our script on them. Okay, so basically I'm going to be executing the shell script from this master server, all right, and deploy it on these two servers without, all right, logging into any of these two servers. So that is exactly what we want to do. Okay, now of course you already know that this is, Ubuntu and Amazon, right? How you install these servers is completely different. Is that okay? Now let's go ahead, all right, into our EC2 section. Okay, so I'm going to open up my EC2 instance here. These are the two servers that we're using from before. All right, so what I'm going to do is I'm just going to terminate these two servers, right? So I'm going to terminate these two servers. And what I'm going to do here is basically I'm going to, all right, launch my instances. Okay, so I'm going to launch instances. So here I'm going to say, all right, let's just call it the master server. Okay, at least just basically to, distinguish it. And then I'm going to use an Ubuntu for that. Okay, I'm going to use an Ubuntu as my master server. All right, so I'm okay with the 24.04 LTS. All right, so T2 micro, make sure you stay within the free tier eligible. Okay, and then from here, the key pair, make sure you select the key pair you created from before. All right, and then here, of course, we've not talked about network, so just still stick to the default configuration that we have there. All right, so I'm going to say select existing, and then the security group that we created, all right, during the course of the training. So let's choose that. So instance SG. Of course, your own might not be the same name, okay? But whichever one you created in the course of the class, all right, just choose that. And then I'm going to say launch instance, all right? So I'm going to go back to instances, all right? I'm going to launch instance again. Now I'm doing this one by one so that we can follow along whatever it is that I'm doing. So I'm going to call these, all right, Amazon Linux. Okay, so web 01. So just to identify my Linux, I'm going to stick with the Amazon Linux, the 2023 AMI. And right here, I'm going to also stick to the T2 micro, okay? Because, we want to be within the free tier as much as possible. So select your key pair, and then here, select your existing security group, come here, and then select this one right here. So launch the instance again. All right, now we have one more instance to launch, okay? So click on launch instance. So I'm going to call this Ubuntu Web, all right, 02, okay, basically for some form of identification, okay? And then I'm going to select Ubuntu, all right, I'm going to be using the same 24.04 LTS, all right, scroll down T2 micro, all right, select your key pair, select existing, come here, choose a security group, and launch your instance. All right, so now we have 3 instances that we have launched, okay? So let me just refresh. So let's see our instances coming up. So I'm going to come right here where you have all states. I'm going to come there and I'm going to say running. So basically, I want to focus on the running instances, all right? So that's basically what my focus, all right, is on. Now I'm going to click on this master server. I'm going to come to security here. Now there's something I quickly want to show us here. Now, in my security group, you will see that I have added a protocol called ICMP. Okay, so let's open up my security group. Let me just show you and explain to you what we're going to be using the ICMP to do. All right, so I'm going to click on edit inbound rule. Okay, so let me delete it. All right, and then hard rule, custom, and then I'll come here and say all ICMP IPv4. Okay, now what ICMP does is the protocol that is actually responsible or that allows you to ping, all right, another system, right? You know, there's this way to test connectivity between two systems, right? When you want to test connectivity, all right, if you want to know if system A is able to communicate with system B, all right, you can use what you call the ping protocol, right, to ping. So you can say ping the IP address of this server. Now, if there's a return from that server, right, it means that, all right, there's a communication between the two systems, right? Now, the protocol that guides that ping communication is what you call ICMP. And ICMP basically stands for Internet Control Messaging Protocol, right? So that's what it is, okay? So I'm going to open up that and say it's 00 as well, all right? And then I'm going to save the rules, okay? So I just thought to show us that, all right? Now let's go back to our instances. Let's refresh. All right, so now we should have our 3 instances, all right, up and running. So let's log into our master server first of all right? So I'm going to come here and say connect, copy this example right here, all right, and then come right here, all right, navigate to where you have, all right, your key pair stored, okay, and then you drop it here to connect to your server, say yes, and then you are good to go. All right, so that's it. So let me clear my screen. So here I am connected to my, all right, master server. So I'm going to rename the tab right here, and I'm going to call these, all right, let me use capital letters. So master server. Okay, so we've renamed that. All right, so let's log in into the other servers. All right, so okay, so let's go with Amazon Linux now. So click on that and then click on connect, grab the SSH key. All right, open a new tab, expand this so that you can at least see what you're doing. CD downloads. All right, so that's where my key is, paste it here. All right, and then you say yes to connect to your server. So clear your screen. All right, so you have logged in into the Amazon, all right, Linux server. So rename the tab as appropriate. So I'm going to say Amazon Linux, right? Now, let me just add something to that so that we can just, give it a completeness. I'm going to say web, all right, 02. Oh, sorry, that should be web 01. Sorry, that's web 01 rather. So web 01. Okay, good. Now let's go back and let's connect to the third instance, all right? So grab the third instance, click on connect, okay? Copy the example here, open a new tab, all right? So make sure you navigate to where you have your key pair stored, all right? And then you drop it here. So you say yes. All right, so that's it. So clear screen, move right here. So here you have to rename the tab as well. So this is going to be Ubuntu, okay? So let's say Ubuntu, so that will be web 02, right? Okay, so now we have our Amazon Linux. Okay, so let me expand this. All right, so we have our master server. Okay, I hope you can see this. So there's the master server. So we're going to be deploying from the master server, all right, onto these 2 web servers. Okay, so let's see how this will go. Now, first thing first, on the master server, I need to edit my host name, as we've seen in the previous videos, right? You can change your host name and all of that. Okay, so I'm going to come here and I'm going to say sudo nano etc slash that should be host name. All right, so I'm going to edit this and I'm going to give it, all right, master server. Okay, so I'm going to say master server. Let me put a space there or a dash. Okay, so save that, exit out, and then here we're going to say sudo host name is now what? Master server. Okay, so you can exit, all right, and then you can connect again just to do some kind of refresh. Okay, so there you go. Now you have what? You have master server. All right, so let's go to the Amazon Linux and let's do the same thing. So sudo nano, all right, /etc/host name. Okay, so you can see that that is fairly long. So I'm just going to give this a simple name. So I'm going to call it, all right, web01. Okay, just something simple. Okay, not too complicated. So exit out. So sudo host name web01. All right, so you can exit also. All right, try to connect again. So exiting there is just a form of refresh. All right, so now you have your what? You have your web01. Is that okay? So let's do the same thing for our Ubuntu server. So sudo nano etc/host name. All right. So just make sure you follow along all the steps. You might want to document, all right, all those things that we're doing. I think that will be really helpful. Okay, so save and then exit out. So sudo host name web02. Okay, so let's exit and then we connect again. Right. So now we have web02. Brilliant. Now I'm going to go to the master server and I'm going to edit, all right, something. So nano /etc/host. All right, so I'm going to edit the host file. All right, so on the master server, I'm going to edit the host file. All right, is it host? Sorry, I think it's hosts. All right, so it is hosts, not host. Okay, so let's take note of that. Now, inside of this host file, I'm going to do what you call, all right, name to IP address mapping. All right. Now, instead of referring to my, all right, servers here, right, using their private IP address, I basically want to, all right, access them using their host name. Okay. I want to access them using what? Their host name. So that's what we want to try to do. So here, I'm going to go back to my instances section. All state, I'm going to say running. Now, my Amazon Linux, I'm going to grab the private IP address of my Amazon Linux, right? So grab the private IP, drop it here. So, and that maps to what? Web01, right? So that's the mapping. You can drop this down a bit, okay? So you can go back, grab the IP address of your Ubuntu, the private IP, drop that also, and that maps to what? Web02, right? So the IP address, all right, is mapped to what? Web01. So which means anywhere that I reference Web01 is going to resolve back to the IP address of what? Of the Amazon Linux server. So anywhere that I reference Web02, that will do what? Will resolve back to the IP address of the Ubuntu server. Is that okay? So let's save this and let's exit. Now you're going to know the reason why we needed the ICMP. So now I'm going to say ping web01. Right? Now, if it returns, all right, a response like this, then it means that there's a communication between my master server, all right, and web01. Okay, so I can ping. So there's a relationship between them. Okay. Now, in the same vein, we can say ping web02, right? And then we also get a response. So now it is easier for me to access, all right, these servers using their name instead of their IP address. Okay, that is way easier. Okay, it's way easier to access it that way compared to using the IP address. Now, another thing that we need to do. Okay, now what we're doing now is basically prepping the servers, right? All right, in anticipation of executing our script. Remember, we've not even written the script, okay? We've not written anything. So we're going to write the script together, all right? And we're going to deploy it, all right, together. But we need to prepare the servers so that, the servers are ready and then we can deploy our script. Now, the next thing I need to do is that on these machines, all right, I need to create a username, all right, that I can use to execute, all right, these, script. Okay. So on the Amazon Linux, I'm going to come here and I'm going to say sudo user add, all right, -m, basically to create a home directory. And I'm going to call the name of the user DevOps, all right? Or I can call the name of the user, I can use my name actually, all right? And then I'll press enter. And then I'll say sudo passwd, okay? So I want to give this user a password, okay? And I'll give it just my name as well, okay? So now it's been updated, right? Now, there's one more thing we need to do, right? Because we want to use this user to do remote execution, okay? We're going to be using this user to do remote execution. And so we want to be able to, we want to add this user to what you call the sudo's file, all right? Now, the sudo's file will allow, when you are trying to log in using this user, all right, it's not going to ask you maybe for the root password or something like that, right? It's going to allow you to use this user, all right, to execute certain task, okay, without asking, any question, okay? So let's go here and let's open up the sudo's file. So I'm going to say sudo, all right, vi sudo, okay? Now, inside of this file, okay, it basically contains users that have the privilege to run, all right, sudo commands. Okay, sudo, they can run, sudo commands basically. So it's just more like saying you are adding the user, all right, to the sudo group, something like that. Okay, so press enter. So you scroll all the way down here. All right, so scroll all the way down. So where you have root, okay, so put the username. So the username is this, all right, and then I'll say all equals, all right, all. So just follow the same pattern there. And then I'll come here and I'll say no pass wd. Okay. So whatever command I want to run, right, do not ask me for the password. Okay, because now it is now a member of the sudo's file. The same way when you use your root user to execute certain things, it doesn't prompt your root user for a password. All right. So that's exactly what we want to do. So that by the time we're using this, all right, username to execute certain things, it shouldn't ask us for any password, right? It should just execute and just run without any kind of password prompting. Okay, so save that and then exit out. Now we have created a user and we've added this user to the sudo's file. Is that okay? Now let's quickly do the same thing on the Ubuntu, all right, machine. So sudo, all right, I'm going to use add user here. Okay, so sudo add user. All right, so let me just put my name. Okay, so password. All right, so just accept all the defaults and then you say yes. Okay, so clear your screen. Now here, I'm going to say sudo, all right, vi sudo. Okay, so let's add the same user to the sudo's file here as well. So scroll all the way down and then you find your root here. So where you have your root, you put the name of the user. Okay, so move here and then all colon all. All right, so and then your no pass wd. All right, and then you say all. Okay, so basically you do not ask me for any password when I'm using this user to execute certain commands. So you save that. Sorry, Control O to save, Control X to quit out. All right, now what's the next thing we need to do? Now, the fact that we have created a user and the user has a password and the user belongs to, all right, has been added to the sudo's file does not mean automatically we can start using the user to execute certain things, okay? Because I mean, if you understand Linux, all right, at least based on the things that we've been, learning in the course of this journey, you would realize that well, I won't say the only way, all right, but the acceptable way of accessing your Linux server is through the SSH, all right, protocol, right? So which means you need a key pair, all right, to be able to access your Linux server. So by default, your Linux server does not allow password authentication. Okay, so by default, your Linux does not allow what? Password authentication by default. Now you can enable password authentication, you can configure it, but out of the box, your Linux server does not support password authentication. But we're going to have to enable password authentication because, I mean, there's something we need to do that we're going to need to execute using the passwords, all right, of our user that we just created. So let's see how we can enable password authentication here. So let's go first to the Amazon Linux. All right. And I'm going to go to this directory. So I'm going to use the VI editor for that. Okay. So sudo VI. All right. And then you go to your etc directory. So there's the SSH directory in there. And then you go to the sshd underscore config. Right. Now the sshd is responsible, all right, for how you access your server, right? So basically, we're editing the configuration of the SSH. All right. So we're editing the SSH configuration basically. That's exactly what we're doing. All right. Because we want to allow password authentication. So in addition to allowing SSH, we also want to allow, all right, our user to log in into the Linux server using password, okay, instead of SSH. So we need to edit, all right, we need to edit, okay, the SSHD config that we can find in the etc directory, okay, to allow that. So I'm going to press enter. Now I'm looking for a particular line that says password authentication. That's what I'm looking for, right? Now in the VI editor, okay, you can set line numbers, for example. So I'm going to say colon SENU, all right? So that will set the line numbers, right? So I can see each line. So line one, up to whatever line you have there. And then I'm going to do something. So I am in the command mode. So basically, I want to do a search operation. Right now, I can't do a search operation if I'm in the insert mode because the insert mode allows me to just type in and modify my file. But right now, what I want to do is to, all right, search for something. Okay. So I'm going to use the /, all right, and then I'm going to search for, all right, this particular thing here. So you can see it gives me password authentication equals to no, right? And now that is exactly the line that I'm looking for. Now, when you're doing a search operation using the VI editor, you must understand that you must know exactly what you're looking for, right? So for example, now if I start with a small letter P, okay, and I go here and I say password and all of that. Now, it's not going to give me, all right, what I'm looking for because what I type does not match, all right, what I'm looking for. So the password indication I'm looking for, the character there, the P starts with what? With is uppercase. So now I'm using lowercase. So it's not going to give me, it's not going to match that string. Okay. So I need to know exactly what I'm looking for. All right. If it started be with capital letter or small letter, I need to know the pattern, right? I need to know the string and all of that. So here it started with capital P, all right, and then password authentication. So that's what I'm looking for exactly. Now here you will see that it says no, right? But we need to change that to what? So now I need to do the insert mode in order to do this, right? So I press I on my keyboard, say yes, allow password authentication. Is that okay? So I'm going to press escape, WQ, all right, to write and to quit. Now, since I have modified my SSHD configuration file, what that means is that I need to also restart the SSHD service. Okay, because I mean, if I do sudo system, all right, so if I do sudo system ctl status ssh, right? Oh, sorry, sshd rather. Okay, so here I will see that it is active and it is running. So now, since I've modified the configuration file, I also need to restart this service. Is that okay? Now, one thing that you need to understand here is that, all right, on Amazon Linux, it is called SSHD. On Ubuntu, it is SSH. Okay, so those are some of the differences that we need to get familiar with. All right, so here I'm going to say sudo systemctl, all right, restart, all right, sshd. Okay, so I restarted the service. All right, so let's clear the screen. Now we can actually quickly test this, all right, by going to my master server. So let me clear my screen here and then say ssh. All right, so the name of the user is Seun, all right, and the server I want to connect to is web01, right? And then I'll press enter. So it's trying to establish a connection. So this is the IP address of all right, web01. Okay, so I'm going to say yes here. Now it's asking me now for what? For password. Can you see that? It's asking me for password. So I'm going to put a password and then I press enter. Now, if everything goes well, you can see that I am logged in as what? All right, into my Amazon Linux 2023 using password authentication from my master server. Okay, so let's exit. Now that tells us that for the Amazon Linux, the configuration was correct. All right, we didn't encounter any error. Everything is fine. All right. Now let's go to Ubuntu. All right, and let's do the same thing here. So I'm going to go sudo vi, all right, and that is /etc ssh, all right, sshd underscore config, right, that up. Now, one thing we need to quickly do here, all right, is to go to, all right, so let's set the line numbers first. So SENU, okay, set your line numbers, all right, I to insert. So I'm going to come here. Now, you see, in Ubuntu, this particular line, I need to comment it out. Okay, so let's comment that out. And then I'll go back to the command mode and I'll use my / to search. So I'm looking for password authentication. Now, you can see that here, password authentication is yes, but it was disabled. Okay, so what I need to do is to enable it. So I'm going to press enter and I'm going to press I on my keyboard to what? To insert. So I'm going to basically enable that. And then I'll say yes. So I want to allow password authentication. Is that okay? So escape, W key to write and save, and then you say sudo systemctl, all right, restart, okay, SSH. Okay, so now on the Ubuntu machine, it is SSH. On Amazon Linux, it is what? SSHD. Okay, and then you can do your sudo system CTL status SSH. Okay, so you can do that. So you can see that it was started 17 seconds ago. So I mean, we started it just now, right? So let's quit that and let's click. So again, let's go back and let's test if this works. So SSH, all right, shell at web02. Okay, so you press enter, you say yes, and if all is well, that should also ask you for what? For password. So if you put a password, all right, now you are logged in into your what? Your Amazon Linux. So now we're logged in into web02. Okay, so that's great. So clear your screen and exit out, all right, of that. Okay. Now, the next thing we need to do, all right, is basically to generate an SSH key from our master server, all right, that we're going to now copy to all of these servers. Okay, because I mean, we're not going to execute our shell script using password authentication. We're going to be executing our shell script using SSH, okay, the key pair that we're familiar with. The reason why we allow password authentication is so that we can copy our SSH key that we're going to generate on the master server. We want to be able to copy that key from the master server to all these servers, okay? So that is the reason why we allowed password authentication. We're going to disable that, all right, after we're done with the copying. So let's see how we can generate SSH key on the master server and copy that to our two web servers. So I'm going to come here and say SSH key gen, and then I press enter. So I'm just going to accept all the default, right? I'm not changing anything here. So I'm just going to say enter, 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 all right? And then my SSH key has been generated, okay? So now I want to copy this key to each of my servers, right? Because from the master server, I'll be SSH in, okay, into each of these servers. I'm not going to be using password authentication, all right? So the reason for password authentication is basically what I'm about to do now, which is to copy my key from the master server to each of these servers. So how do I copy my key, all right, from the master server to each of these web servers? Let's see how we can do that. So I'm going to come here and say SSH, all right, -copy, all right, -id. Okay, so that's the command. And then here, I'm going to specify the username. So the username is shell at, all right, so shell at web01, right, web01. And then I press enter. So now it is trying to copy the key, right, to my web01. Okay, so it's trying to copy the public key. So you can see here that it's trying to copy the public key from this location, all right, to my web01 server. So I'm going to put the password that is asking me. And then I'll press enter. And right here it says number of keys added is what? Is 1. And it says, now try logging into Shield with SSH Web01, all right, without the password now. So here, I can come back here to my Web01. I can say sudo, all right, and then I'll say vi etc slash ssh slash sshd underscore config. Open that up, then I would disable the password authentication, right? So come here, password authentication, press your I, all right, and then so password authentication is going to be no. Okay, so I am not allowing that anymore. Okay, so escape, column W key to save, and now you can restart your SSHD service, right? So sudo systemctl, all right, restart SSHD, right? So restart the service. Now we've disabled password authentication, we restarted SSHD service. So let's come here, all right, and let's try SSH, all right, show at web01, all right, and then let's try that. Enter. Now look at that. No password asked, okay, it just entered. Because now I have configured my SSH key, okay, so I can authenticate from my website, from my master server to Amazon Linux, all right, web01. Okay, so now let's go ahead and do the same thing for web02. So here I'm going to exit, all right, clear screen. So here I'm going to say SSH hyphen copy, right? So I'm copying the SH key and then shell at web02, enter. So of course, it's going to ask me for the password for web02. So I'm going to put the password, all right, and now the key has been copied to web02. So on the web02 server, I can actually now, all right, delete the key. Is that okay? So I'm going to come here and say sudo vi, all right, etc. Now, I'm not deleting the key, sorry. I want to disable password authentication. Is that okay? etc ssh slash sshd underscore config. All right, so what we want to disable a password authentication, right? So slash password, so right there. So here, I'm basically just going to comment it out, all right, just like we saw it earlier, all right? So I'm going to do that. Okay, and then you can escape, WQ. So now, let's say sudo systemctl restart SSH, right? So now if I come here, all right, and I just grab this, so let's copy this right here. So let's copy this, copy, paste. All right, make sure you edit it to remove this thing here. All right, remove that, press enter, and now you are able to log into web02. Is that okay? So SSH, all right, is working. So from the master server, I can SSH, all right, into my instance. Now let's just do some practice, all right? I mean, we've configured SSH, all right? So let's do some, some stuff, right? So let's do some interesting stuff. Now, so on the master server, I'm going to create a file, okay? So I'm going to call this file host, sorry. So let's say host. Then I'm going to put here web01 and then web02. Okay, so these are the hosts, right? So save, exit out. Okay, now let's do some for loop, all right, stuff. Okay, in the last video, we saw how you can use for loop to iterate over something, possibly something you want to repeat, okay, a number of times. So I'm going to say for host in, you already understand the pattern, right? So I'm going to do command substitution. Okay, so I'm going to do command what? Substitution. So I'm saying cat. The name of the file I created is host, right? So now, what am I doing basically? The cat command is a command that allows you to what? To read a file. Okay? So I want to use my for loop to iterate over the host file. So if the cat command is going to give me, all right, the content of the file, then for loop should also be able to access the content of that file. So there are two things in the file. All right, I have web01, I have web02, right? So my for loop should be what? Should read that file with the help of the cat command. So, and that's why I'm using command substitution. Okay. So here I'm going to say, so what do I want to do? So I'm going to say do, all right, SSH, okay, so the user at dollar host. Do you understand that? In the hosts file, I have web01 and web02, right? So for host, basically, if you watch the last video, you realize, I explained how the for loop works. So each of the item in the host file, all right, the for loop is going to iterate over it, pick the first item, add it to its own variable. So this host here is the for loop variable, right? So every command you will execute is going to be executed against, all right, this for loop variable, right? So for loop is going to read this particular file using this command substitution, right? So there are two things in the file. So which means for loop is going to go over the file one time, grab the first item in that file, and then put the value in this variable, right? So the command you are executing is going to be executed against the for loop variable, right? So I explained that clearly in the last video, okay? So do ssh shown at host, so which means web01, all right? Then, so what do I want to do on the host? So let's say we want to check, uptime, right? When the server was up, all right? That's the command in Linux, right? And then I'll say colon, and then I'll say done. All right. So that is how it works. So basically, I'm executing a for loop, all right, on the terminal. So it's not inside of the script. So that's why you have to put all of this. So column and all of that. So now we're done. Now let's execute this and let's see what we have. So I'm going to press enter. All right, look at that. So it gave me the result for web01 and it gave me the result for what? For web02. Okay, can you see that? So for web01 and for what? And for web02. Now you can actually put this in a script as well, right? If you want to be sure that, oh, okay, this is web01, this is web02, that's also possible. Okay, so that's also very possible, right? So now our connection is ready from the master server to the Amazon Linux and to the Ubuntu, all right, server. Okay, so everything is set, right? Everything is set. Okay, so now the next thing we need to do now is to start writing our script. So here we are going to write two scripts. So one is our shell script that will do all the deployment, the web deployment, and the other one is going to be a for loop script, all right, that would help us to execute it on, all right, all the servers. Remember, we're deploying on two servers, right? So we need a for loop to help us with that. So the for loop will go the first time, execute all the commands, all right, on the first server, come back the second time, execute a command, all right, on the other server, right? So we need a for loop, all right, for that. So we're going to be writing two scripts. So one that will contain, all the files we want to download, the Apache installations, all those things. The second file is going to contain, all right, the for loop that will now do the deployment. So the for loop is what we're going to use, all right, to do the deployment. So guys, try to do all of the things that I've done now, okay? And if you have any questions about, all of these steps, put it in the comment section. I'll try as much as possible to answer your question, all right? Thank you so much for joining today's class. I will see you in the next video where we write our script, all right, and then complete this hands-on project. So thank you so much. I'll see you in the next video.